Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. It's Freebie Friday, so don't forget to get your posts up. And today we have Mark with us coming in really early from Hawaii. And he's going to be sharing straight from Playbook some recruiting tips as well as some social media basics. So take it over, Mark.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. I'm going to cover those two topics. They're going to be kind of brief. I know I went a little bit long last time. And these are some just highlights that really I kind of gleaned, some nuggets that I took away from the concept, the topic of recruiting, and then again, a few social media basics. And I can't stress enough these Playbook events. Every time I've been to one, or we're virtual or even live, you just glean so much. And even if you've heard some of these things before, as I mentioned, it's just sometimes hearing it at that given moment, maybe by somebody different, that maybe resonates with you, or you just internalize more than maybe you did once before. And so Mandy Mitchell and Alexis Brady discussed the recruiting topic. And let me just back up by saying, sometimes when we hear the term recruiting, I don't know about you, but I think, I'm not sure if I really resonate with that term when I'm thinking about maybe looking for prove-it partners or prove-it promoters to join me. But when you think about it, companies recruit, sports teams recruit. So it's a very common term. And so that was the topic, title that we used. And Mandy started off by referring about just her story. And you may have heard about it when she was in a private meeting with a group of other leaders with Brian Underwood, BU. And the challenge was put out for her to get 30 new promoters in 30 days, or it was put out to the whole group. And when Brian Underwood came to her, she said, well, I'm not really sure I could do anything close to that. Long story short, she went after it. And it was a couple of key little things that she did in that 30-day period to where she didn't get 30 new promoters in 30 days, but she did, I think, get like 23 or 24, which was huge for her. She'd never done anything like that before, not even close. And so she basically talked about how she just made this one shift in how she approached people that had been following her, people maybe that had been longtime customers, maybe people that had been always regularly liking, making likes on her posts, maybe some that have been commenting, but especially just the people that have been liking for a long time, and maybe some of her loyal customers that she just hadn't really talked to about possibly joining her. And what she said was, while we're chatting, like she found reason to give him a call, and this was typically a live phone call. While we're chatting, you clearly love ketones. I'd absolutely love to work with you. Have you ever thought about doing what I'm doing? And just by asking that, you ever thought about doing what I do? And she came back where she said, a lot of people answered, Mandy, I'd love to work with you. I've thought about doing what you've done. I just never thought to reach out. And she said, just by making that question, by putting that out there, it really had this profound impact on all these conversations she began having over that 30-day period about people said, well, yeah, Mandy, I'd love to know more. Just by her asking, I know you clearly love ketones. You've been drinking them for a while. I'd love to work with you. Have you ever thought about doing what I do? And when I heard her talk about that, I thought, there's a lot of people in my group that I could have that conversation with. And since then, I've had that conversation, and since Playbook, and it's brought up some just really great conversations because it's being asked in a really friendly, non-threatening way. It's an easy question to ask, but maybe many of us, I know myself, sometimes I just haven't asked that question. And that then shifted to Alexis Brady kind of piggybacking off that and saying some action steps about how we can go about recruiting or finding fellow promoters to join us. And she goes, don't question asking that question that Mandy talked about. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And, and the thing is, visualize people coming on board with us. It should be just as easy to find a promoter as it is a customer. And I oftentimes have to remember, I think I'm a pretty normal person. I think I'm pretty ambitious. I'm pretty fun. Well, there's a lot of people just like a Don Caldwell, a Tamari, a Paul Jackson, an Elizabeth, a Bree, Ken Cools. I could go on and on and on. All of us are good, fun, cool people. And we clearly see the value and the great experiences we've had of being a promoter and what it can do, not just from a standpoint of ketones, but from what it can do to provide serious side gig money or full-time money. and residual and all the things that come with it, and the culture and the community approve it, and taking it beyond just from being a customer. And so I got to remind myself, hey, just visualize that people want to join me. Visualize that, hey, if I saw value in this and it's been huge for me, there's a lot of other people that feel the same way, but we'll never know if we don't ask the question. And so visualize people answering yes to join you in being a promoter and wanting to go on this great ride. And so, and then Alexis talked about in terms of action steps, how a kind of a personal challenge for us is, how many people have I asked someone to join me in a month or in this month? We're starting July. It's perfect. How many people am I going to ask to join me this month? And if we drop back and say, well, how many people did I ask last month to join me in this business, in this proven opportunity, in this great company? And if it was none, okay, then she goes, just double it, make it at least one or two. If you talk to 2 or 4 people, then double it, make it 4 to 8. And shows, make a personal challenge of doubling on how many people you've asked to join you. And don't focus on results, just focus on the action steps of asking people. And, have you ever thought about doing what I do? Because it'd be wonderful to partner with you. I think we'd have a blast. And, or a version of that would be, would you be open to learning more about what I do? And so it's, again, a version of what Mandy talked about. And then Mandy piped in, she goes, she used that word, and I think we talked about it on one of the other playbooks, where she used that word also. So instead, would you be open to learning about what I do as well? But then also, while we're chatting, so again, if maybe you're having a talk to a customer about a new flavor drop, or maybe they have a question about this or that, but you're having a conversation. And then that's when she pulls in the word also. Also, while we're chatting, quick question. Do you want to ever do you ever want to know what I do? And so just asking that. And then also, this was important at the very beginning, when you're talking to somebody who's really had some great experiences with their ketones. Maybe it's after their 10-day challenge, and now they're buying their second or third box, and you're having a conversation. Quick question: do you want to get started just as a customer or as a promoter? And just ask that right up front, early on, because that'll create a conversation about them wanting to maybe, well, gosh, I don't know, what is a promoter? And maybe earlier on, since they've already done a trial, they've already joined ketones, then it doesn't necessarily mean they've got to be this customer for in a definite period of time. Get them to know that, hey, you can be a customer and or a promoter. And so it's a great thing to start to put as a mindset to develop team members earlier on than maybe we've done in the past. And so, because I know a lot of people I've had as customers, and maybe they've been customers for a year, and I've never had the promoter conversation. I mean, they love the product, but for whatever reason, I haven't. And so shame on me. So, people don't overthink it. People need this, and how it can change their lives on so many levels. So expect things to go great when you ask the question. And what's the worst they can say? Well, they say, no, I'm just good where I'm at. I love being a customer, or fine, that's fantastic. But you planted a seed, if nothing else. And so just, again, assume that it's going to go great. Assume that people want to join you, and just, again, go about pursuing it as, again, while we're chatting, because you love ketones, have you ever thought about doing what I do? I think it's such a simple thing to ask. And so that was just a couple of key things I picked up on the concept of, or the whole topic of recruiting. And then we're going to quickly shift here to social media basics. And these are basics. I know some of you are just killing it in social media. So this will maybe seem very basic, but it was really helpful to hear, sometimes just hear from somebody else, and also just hear maybe some things that they've done, some little hacks, and if you will, some tips. And so this is led by Kelsey Giggy. And she talked about how, she started with only 500 friends on Facebook. Now she's got, her following is huge, well beyond the 5,000 on Facebook when she talks about other platforms. But again, just reminding ourselves to use social media as a business tool. She talked about how there's no way ever that she could have the reach that she has now if she didn't leverage the use of social media and done right. She could never have talked to enough people on the phone or to reach out in a text message within her immediate sphere if she hadn't begun to leverage social media, because again, the reach is enormous. It's massive. And so it can grow your impact exponentially because the connection aspect is huge. And she goes, becoming intentional about what we're going to post on social media. She wanted to always create meaningful connections with people and create a trust factor. And I think that's the biggest thing to get out of this, a trust factor. And so, the 3 things that she likes to think about in terms of what she's going to kind of focus on, she approaches social media in her posts is, three kind of topics of, she wants to educate, she wants to entertain, and she wants to inspire people. And for educating, it's educating on something you're passionate about. Entertaining, something that's funny. It could even be serious, but something that's entertaining in terms of telling stories. And then, of course, inspiring. And she talked about, we are kind of the main event when it comes to social media, whether regarding our life experiences, our stories, our families, our hobbies. And so, and the fact is that while our life is the main event, ketones are the commercial. And so if you think about social media and we're being the main event, it's like our TV show on social media. Ketones should only be the commercial. It's not the main event. So the main event on social media is just posting about our life, what we're doing, our hobbies, our passions, where we travel, all the kinds of things we enjoy doing. And then ketones are sprinkled in as a great, fantastic, engaging commercial. And so, and then she talked about, social media is our, is our storefront. And so you've got storefronts like Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok. She goes, just focus on one or two platforms. You don't necessarily need to do all of them. And so the first key steps are just setting up your bio, your biography. Then secondly, a profile picture of you. And not, I see some people, they post a picture of a dog or whatever, or their cats. No, it needs to be a picture of you, of us, okay? And then make that profile public, because that's how people are going to find you more easily. And then always be authentic. And we've heard this before time and again, but always be authentic and on social media. Work on being a great storyteller. Tony talks about this all the time. The most successful people in the world are also great storytellers. So we just want to get comfortable about being authentic and being a great storyteller, and sharing about and then along the way, sharing about the individual benefits that I'm experiencing in life and how ketones are supporting that. So again, it's enjoying life and having social media to witness that, and then how ketones are supporting that along the way. And so I thought that was really great how she referred to it that way. And then, of course, being consistent is absolutely key to not only on social, is to key to building relationships and ongoing trust. It's so important that we've all heard it before, try to be consistent at least a couple of times a day, because between the algorithms and everything else, the people are seeing you being really consistent, and they're starting to create a following. You're starting to create a following, especially amongst people you don't even know, but they're starting to follow you. And then you kind of fall off the radar and they don't see you for a week or two. Then it just kills the momentum you're creating on that following. And they're also maybe wondering, well, geez, maybe they're not the person I need to be following. Maybe I should be following somebody else. So be consistent. We all need to do that more. I know I do. And it's really something I'm focusing on just being consistent every single day. One of the don't do's on social, we've heard it before, don't post our prove it sales flyers. Don't ever do that. Those are the things you can maybe individually send to somebody on a private text or messenger, but we never want to do the prove it sales flyers, because that just comes off as too salesy. It comes off as a pitch, and I think we all agree as to what that looks like. And then she brought on Melissa May, and this is something I'm not that familiar with. And she talked about just adding new people, of course, and then how ketones have made us better. And then she talked about how, obviously other ways to gain followings are joining Facebook groups. Tony's talked about this a lot. And I learned that from Tony about finding Facebook groups where you've got shared interests and that you can connect with people, and then gain their trust, get to know them through that Facebook group. But you're not going to talk about ketones in the Facebook group, but by becoming part of Facebook groups, then you're developing new relationships, you're increasing your reach. And then throughout that will lead ultimately to private ketone conversations for sure. And then, of course, you've got IG and TikTok, and how you can like people and begin to follow them. And when you comment on them and direct message them, then you start to create a relationship, create rapport, create trust. Again, such an important thing, creating trust. And that allows you to then to develop relationships where then privately you could develop the ketone conversation. So between having Facebook groups and then commenting and liking and following other people, and like Instagram and TikTok is another huge way. And so again, being intentional, being passionate about what we're doing, and then thinking about maybe the niche, that perhaps while we want to be talking to everybody and anybody about this, perhaps you've got a niche, and so that you want to maybe feel like you can resonate with. Like perhaps for me, maybe it's actually baby boomers, people that are needing this for a number of reasons to benefit them from a health perspective, but also from ultimately a business perspective, whether people, a lot of baby boomers, they don't have enough savings to retire. They are looking for extra income, perhaps to help with their children or grandchildren. So there's so many things where maybe find a niche, and then that could be part of what you're promoting yourself with and attracting on social media. Dial in on who I would want to serve, a demographic or a niche, and understand their challenges. So that would be something to consider, and you may be already doing it. But I think, I thought that was a key reminder of perhaps, what am I about? And then who do I want to attract, and who do I want to help, and who do I want to support in that? And you can find, again, these kinds of people in Facebook groups and do, and so forth, and also Facebook business pages. But bottom line is to show up authentically and consistently, and to commit to 1 to 3 times a day, minimally, and to be social, develop rapport, engage with people on their posts, and ultimately it will lead to great things. And so those were just some of the key things that I picked up. Also, one last thing was, it's so easy to get busy, and suddenly the day's gone by and you haven't done a social media post. So we've heard it before. Tony's talked about it. It's to set a timer, and I've gotten to do that regularly, where I've got a timer set about 3 times a day. So if I'm busy and my hair's on fire and I'm super busy with clients and meetings and phone calls, that timer reminds me to okay, I gotta stop now, or the next opportunity I gotta stop and do a post or create a conversation or a follow-up or whatever. And so again, just a reminder of using timers on our smartphones to be able to remind ourselves to time block, to get these things accomplished on every day, to be consistent, to create momentum, as part of the action steps we want to do every single day. So that is, and then also making time every week to maybe create content. So again, what's today? Freebie Friday. Well, there's days where I will put in my notes on my phone, thoughts and ideas on what I want to do for a Freebie Friday, or for a social media post. We're on the fly. I don't want to forget about it later. I don't want to pretend that I'm going to remember that thought I had. So I'm going to put it in my notes and then go back to my phone and remind myself, okay, whether it be for a Freebie Friday post or for some other form of a social media post, to write that content or to put those in the notes of my phone. It could be photos, it could be videos, it could be written material. But notes is a great tool on our phones to be able to put in material right away that you can go back to, and then ultimately to create that content that's going in that post. So I hope that makes sense. But Don, that's what I have for now. And I hope these were just a few helpful tips, a couple of nuggets, things that I gleaned from Playbook. And that's what I've got. Hello, hello. Hi, Tamari.
Where'd everybody go?
Well, thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, Paul's got a big truck. I know where he's going. He's pulling a big load.
I haven't been around for a while because I started a new job and it's driving me insane.
Well, it's nice to hear your voice, Elizabeth.
Nice to hear yours too.
Well, thanks,
All right,
Mark.
well, I guess,
that was awesome.
Yeah, I guess Dawn disappeared on. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh,
there she is. Hello, Don. I finished.
Sorry, I was dropping the kids off to school.
No, you're great. I just wrapped just a moment ago.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of those tips. And again, that also conversation is big for me. So, yeah. And I like the idea of, I love the idea of how many did you do last month, and then just shoot to double it. So if it was 0, which mine, no, I had 1, but I'll shoot for 2 or 3.
Yeah, seriously.
So,
and I thought
awesome.
That was such a simple thing. Yes, it's a personal challenge. And again, some of these things are so simple to do. but yet can create ultimately momentum and massive results.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Thank you so much for your time and for your contribution. And we will see you guys tomorrow. You have Prove It Promoter call. And then Sunday, we will see what we will do, because I don't know about y'all, but it's 4th of July here, and I'm wearing my stars. And I'm wearing my stars for work today. So I know Canada, like, doesn't have it, but anyways. All right.
Well,
have an
yeah,
awesome
yesterday.
It
Yeah,
was
I know.
yesterday.
I know, but you know what, man? You Canadians are really pissed at your country right now.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of
this-
folks like, I have no pride in my country right now. And I was like, well, I kind of feel you too.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a somber Canada Day yesterday.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to be swimming and barbecuing, so I'll be happy. All right, you guys, have a wonderful Friday. Get your Freebie Friday post up and use those 3 ways, match the hatch, and let's lean on each other and crush into July. Bye.
See you guys.